All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and I appear to have jinxed myself. I know we talked previously, if you guys saw my video at the track, where I was having those heat management module issues and it threw some codes, but I made it through the weekend without a problem. And like I mentioned, I got back home, cleared the codes, and they didn't come back for about 2 weeks. And then I started getting the codes again. I saw another check engine light. And then unfortunately, I even got a coolant temp code when I was getting ready to make the exact same video I was working on last year when the absolute worst situation happened. So that's a no-go. Obviously, I'm not gonna play with fate there. I decided to park the car and we're gonna go ahead and replace the heat management module just so we can avoid any potential issues and get the car back to 100%. So in this video, I'll explain what actually failed and how I kind of diagnosed it. And then of course, show you guys how to replace it in case you run into this problem. So let's go ahead and talk about it, and hopefully you guys find this video useful. So obviously the heat management module is really important on your car. If you don't know, on a B58, it's basically your thermostat. So it manages all of your coolant flow through the engine and the radiators to make sure that it is staying at the correct operating temperature. So mine was giving stuck close. Basically the valves that's supposed to direct coolant wasn't hitting its targets or was moving slowly and causing it to throw those codes. Now, it could be a couple different things. A lot of times it is the actual heat management module, but it could also potentially be like a wiring issue. So check on that depending on your situation. It could be a lot of things. But also I had another symptom that I hadn't really considered. So when you unlock the door of your car, you probably hear something like this. And a lot of people, myself included, initially assume that that's the Valvetronic motor calibrating on top of the engine, but it's actually the heat management module underneath the intake manifold. And mine sounded very slow. I hear it all the time on my 440i when I park it. So when I installed the engine on my 340i, I could tell it just sounded a little bit slow. Sometimes it had like kind of some secondary sounds. It would stop and then start back up, and it just sounded off. But I ignored it for a long time because I wasn't really sure what it was. And now I'm having these issues. So I would say if you hear it making any abnormal sounds, like if you hear it just sounding like it's moving more slowly than it normally does, or when it's normally done and just stops, you kind of hear it making some secondary, movements and stuff. If you hear anything like that, then potentially it could be on its way out. But with that in mind, we went ahead and bought some new parts. So I will have them linked down below in case you need to buy one for your car. And let's go ahead and hop over to the engine bay and I'll show you how to replace it. So to start off, you're supposed to drain both of your cooling systems. You need to drain the low temp circuit because the intake manifold needs to come off to access the heat management module. And you need to drain the high temp circuit since you're going to be removing the heat management module itself. On mine, I only drained the low temp circuit to minimize how much coolant I lost, and because I was going to go ahead and switch to the VP Racing coolant that I run in the intercooler circuit anyway. But if you do both, it should make the job a lot cleaner so you won't have a bunch of coolant and residue in your engine. Now there is no drain plug, so the only way to do it is to remove the lowest hose from each radiator and let the coolant drain that way. So you're going to remove the metal clip that's holding the hose onto your heat exchanger or radiator and then pull on it until it releases. Make sure you have a bucket underneath because each system has over a gallon of coolant inside, and obviously you need something to catch all of the coolant to minimize the mess. It also helps to pull the hose straight down into the bucket, so that will help it drain more coolant and make sure it gets directly into the bucket itself. And also don't forget to remove the cap on your coolant reservoir because when you do that, another surge of coolant will come out as air kind of gets sucked back into the system. Next, you need to remove your intake manifold. I have a Bimmer network manifold on my car and a lot of stuff deleted, so it's a little easier for me. But if you have a stock manifold, then you can use the guide I made previously that shows you how to remove the OEM manifold. I'll have a link to that DIY down in the video description in case you need it. But if you've done this before, it should only take about an hour or two, no big deal. All right, guys, so here we got the intake manifold removed and we can see our heat management modules. That's this big piece right here. Honestly, really good access once the manifold's removed, so feeling pretty good about getting this off. The only thing is it does have this plastic connecting pipe that goes to the water pump housing or this bracket over here. And so I might want to remove this intake manifold support just to get a little more access and clear it. We'll see how bad it is, but otherwise should be pretty straightforward. So we've got 2 coolant hoses down here that need to be disconnected, one on top, and then there's only 3 screws, one right here, one up there, and then there's one hidden underneath. And then we should be able to pull this off. And of course, the electrical connector that makes the actual motor work. So feeling pretty good. Once we get to this point, it should be pretty straightforward. We'll just swap it out and hopefully have great success. So I did decide to go ahead and remove the intake manifold support. It of course helps show the heat management module better for this video, but it also gives more access. So if you're already working in a tight space, I recommend it. You're going to unclip the coolant hoses that are attached to it, and then there are 2 E8 E-torque screws holding it onto the engine that need to be removed. They are really small, so it helps to have a magnet on hand just in case you drop one so you don't lose it. But go ahead and remove those screws, and then the bracket just pulls straight off and out of the way. Next, we're going to remove the top coolant hose from the heat management module. It's only held on with this clamp, so you want to use a set of pliers or channel locks to squeeze both ends together and then wiggle it up and off of the module. Then once the clamp is out of the way, you can just pull on the hose. It may need a little bit of wiggling for it to break free if it's been stuck on there for a while like mine has, but eventually it should just pull straight off. Just be ready for some coolant to come out. If you didn't drain the high temp circuit like I didn't drain it, then a lot is gonna flow. Then you have the 2 lower hoses that need to be removed. They pull off just like all the other coolant hoses in our cooling system. It has the same style clip. So use a pick tool or a hook to pry the clip off and then pull the hose off of the module. Again, if you drain the high temp circuit, you probably won't see as much as you're seeing here, but if you didn't, then just make sure you have another bucket and towels ready because it really starts flowing at this point. Also, just like the front radiator hoses, if you push the hose down and direct it in the bucket, it helps make the coolant come out faster and reduces the mess. Then we're going to go ahead and remove this lower hose that you can see right down here sticking out a little bit farther from the heat management module. It removes the same way. Just note the direction that I'm pulling because the clips only come off one way and go back on the same way. And both of the hoses are different sizes, so their clips aren't interchangeable. You can't mix them up. I do like to put the clips back on for safekeeping so I don't lose them. It just makes it all easier in the end. So go ahead and push them back onto the coolant hoses and then they're ready to be clipped back on when we get the new heat management module. And then finally, we're going to unplug the motor on the module itself. It has the same white tab as every other electrical connector on our cars. So pry that back with a screwdriver or a trim tool and then squeeze on the tab and pull it off. If it doesn't come right off, if it feels like it's stuck, try pushing the connector into the plug first to help release the clip and then pull it out. And now it's time to remove the heat management module. Like I said, it only has 3 E10 E-torque screws holding it onto the block. The first one is right up top, right around the 12 o'clock position. The second one is on the top left corner around the 10:30 position. And then the last one is hidden on the bottom. If you reach down, you can definitely feel it with your finger. It's kind of right next to the long outlet that connects to the lower coolant hose we removed last. So it's kind of around like the 7 o'clock position or so, but you'll need the right size extension to get in there because of all the other coolant hoses in the way. Just take your time. Once you get it on there, it should unscrew just as easy as the others. And now it's time to get the heat management module off of the engine. It's a pretty tight space, and remember there's that long pipe that connects it to the water pump mount, and that's going to prevent it from just pulling straight off. So basically what you need to do is wiggle it up and down to try to break it free from that water pump mount. Take your time, don't put too much force in any direction just to make sure that you don't crack the plastic or break it. But if you do watch it closely, kind of where the screw holes line up and stuff like that, you should notice that it's moving away slowly as it pulls out of the housing until it's completely free. Then pull it straight up out of the top and you're officially halfway there. Now at this point, it's a good idea to try to clean up as much of the coolant as you can. This is also when I noticed the heat management module gasket was still stuck to the engine. So make sure you go over all of the mating surfaces to verify the gaskets and O-rings aren't stuck, and make sure that all of the surfaces are clean and free from debris. And keep in mind, the better you clean it now, the less you'll have to deal with, smoke and coolant smells and stuff while you're driving the car waiting for it to evaporate off of everything. So take your time and make sure your working space is as clean as possible. Now it's time to install the new heat management module. Make sure the gaskets and O-rings are in place. They should come with it if you bought a brand new one, but it's worth just double checking to make sure you don't end up finishing the job and finding out you have a huge coolant leak. But once you've got all that verified, slide it into the water pump mount first, and then keep wiggling it until the screw holes line up on the block. Again, take your time. It is going to be a little bit difficult, just as difficult as it was to pull it out. But if you're patient, you'll get everything lined up. I did go ahead and push the upper coolant hose back on so it would give a little more room, because it was kind of getting in the way as the module was getting lined up in place. But once you get it lined up, then you're going to go ahead and start each of the screws to make sure it's all aligned, everything is threading smoothly, there's no cross threading or anything. And once that's all set up, then you're free to tighten down the screws. Each screw gets torqued to 8 Newton meters, so not a whole lot. Make sure you use a torque wrench so you don't over torque it. Then go ahead and push each of the coolant hoses onto their respective module outlets. Remember, they are 2 sizes, so they only go on one way. Don't force it on if it seems like it's not fitting properly. And they are oriented a certain way as well, so you might need to rotate it a little bit so the tabs line up, and then it should click into place. Then go ahead and plug the motor back into the electrical connector. Make sure you don't miss this step. This is the kind of stuff I usually do and don't figure out until I put everything back together. So yeah, make sure you don't miss that. And then grab your pliers or channel locks to squeeze the clamp and push it back down onto the upper coolant hose so it stays secured and in place. And yeah, honestly, pretty straightforward. I mean, removing the intake manifold the first time can definitely be intimidating, but once it's out of the way, there's so much room to get to the heat management module, and being only really 3 screws holding it on and a couple coolant hoses, it was not really a huge deal to remove. Now, once you've got it reinstalled, make sure you bleed your cooling system. So I recommend vacuum filling it and then running the bleed procedure for both coolant circuits multiple times to completely get all of the air out. If you need help or instructions on how to do that, again, I also have another video showing you how to bleed your cooling system, but I don't want to include everything in this one video and make the DIY much longer than it needs to be, especially considering a lot of you guys have done these extra steps before. So if you know what you're doing, great. Make sure you get all of that bled. If not, check the link down below and that'll show you how to bleed your cooling system and make sure you won't have any overheating issues. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully this solved your problem. Again, I just kind of ran into this issue out of nowhere, so I'm not sure what caused it, if it's due to mileage on the engine or the previous owner, if they had the issue and just never fixed it. Maybe that's the case, but I'm very happy to have it back to 100%. So hopefully this helps you out. Again, make sure you check out the links down below to buy the parts for your replacement if you're going to be replacing it on your car. And otherwise, that's it for this video. So thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.